Every story has a starting point, and for groups like Trulla Mafia, that starting point isn't a logo, it's a location. Most reports and community sources place Trulla Mafia in South Memphis, particularly around neighborhoods like Foot Homes and Orange Mound. These aren't just places on a map. They're environments shaped by decades of poverty, redevelopment, and a constant cycle of survival. Foot Homes was one of the oldest public housing developments in Memphis. For years, it stood as a symbol of concentrated poverty, tight living conditions, limited opportunity, and heavy police presence. Even after demolition efforts began, the influence of that environment didn't just disappear. It carried over into the streets. Then there's Orange Mound, a neighborhood with a very different history. One of the first African-American communities in the US, built by Black homeowners. But over time, like many historic neighborhoods, it faced economic decline, crime increases, and generational hardship. And in that kind of environment, groups don't always form the way people expect. They don't start with structure, they start with survival. In areas like Orange Mound, you see tight circles. People who grew up together, went to the same schools, faced the same pressures. That's the foundation. Reports and street-level discussions suggest that Trulla Mafia is tied into these kinds of local networks in South Memphis, not as a formal, organised gang with ranks and rules, but as a loose collective built on neighbourhood loyalty. People who know each other, move together, and back each other in conflicts. That's what makes groups like this harder to define. There's no official roster, no documented hierarchy, just connections. And in Memphis, those connections can mean everything. Some narratives link individuals associated with Trulla Mafia to ongoing disputes tied to the city's rap scene and neighbourhood rivalries. But what's consistent across sources isn't structure. It's proximity, where you're from, who you're around, and what side you're on when tensions rise. Doesn't stay in the streets. It spills directly into the music. Because artists here don't just represent sound, they represent sides. Young Dolph wasn't just a rapper, he was a symbol of independence, founder of Paper Route Empire. He built his career without major label control, but that independence came with something else: visibility. And in Memphis, visibility can turn into pressure. Dolph's rise wasn't quiet. It was loud, confident, and rooted in where he came from, which meant his success didn't just attract fans, it attracted opposition. On the other side was Yo Gotti, a veteran in the game, founder of collective music group CMG. Where Dolph represented independence, Gotti represented structure, a label, a system, an empire built over years in the industry. These weren't just two artists, they were two different paths out of Memphis. And over time, those paths started to clash. Fans turned it into rivalry, the streets turned it into tension, and the internet amplified everything. In Memphis, affiliations don't stay in music. They bleed into real life. Crews form around artists. Loyalty spreads through neighbourhoods. And suddenly, what started as competition feels like something much bigger. Then comes the next wave. Artists like Pooh Shiesty. Young, rising fast. Connected to major platforms like 1017, Shiesty represents a shift. A generation raised in the same environments, but stepping into a bigger spotlight faster than ever before. Now here's where things get complicated. There are many claims online connecting street groups, artists, and specific events, but not all of it is confirmed. Some of it is speculation, some of it is narrative, and some of it is impossible to separate from the truth. What is clear is that Memphis isn't just a music scene. It's a reflection of the streets it comes from. And when artists rise out of those environments, they don't leave them behind. They carry them into the spotlight. Born Lontrell Williams, Shiesty came out of Memphis with a raw, aggressive sound that felt directly connected to the streets. He didn't blow up overnight. He built momentum locally first, dropping music, gaining traction, and building a name in Memphis before the industry caught on. Shiesty is widely associated with South Memphis, the same side of the city tied to many of the tensions we've been talking about. Now this is where things get layered. Shiesty has been linked, through lyrics, imagery, and associations, to street circles in Memphis. Most commonly, people reference connections to crews like Chopper Gang, but like many modern groups in Memphis, these aren't always formal organisations, they're networks, built on loyalty, proximity, and who you came up with. There are also narratives online tying broader Memphis groups, including names like Trella Mafia, into the same environment. But it's important to understand, there is no clear, publicly verified structure linking all these groups together in an official way. What exists instead is overlap. Everything changed when Shiesty caught the attention of Gucci Mane. Gucci signed him to 1017 Records, a move that instantly put Shiesty on a national stage. From there, his rise was fast. Major features, viral tracks, industry attention. He went from local Memphis artist to one of the most talked about names in rap. But success doesn't erase where you come from, and it doesn't erase the politics tied to it. There have been moments of tension and speculation around Shiesty's affiliations, his positioning in Memphis, and how that intersects with other artists and crews. Some fans have tried to connect dots between street groups, label alignments, and past rivalries. But again, much of that remains unconfirmed or based on interpretation. What is clear is that Gucci Mane's role was pivotal. He didn't just sign Shiesty, he amplified him, giving him a platform that extended far beyond Memphis. But with that kind of rise comes pressure. From the streets, from the industry, and from everything tied to both. And when those pressures collide, that's when things start to unravel. Because in Memphis, your past doesn't stay behind you, it follows you. In 2021, Shiesty was arrested in connection to a robbery and shooting incident in Florida. Federal charges followed. By 2022, he pleaded guilty to a firearms conspiracy charge and was sentenced to over 5 years in federal prison. At that point, his career, one of the hottest in rap, was suddenly put on pause. Even behind bars, his name didn't fade. His music kept circulating. His image stayed relevant. And fans continued to treat him like a major voice out of Memphis. After serving part of his sentence, Shiesty was released early in 2025. Not long after, he returned to music, dropping tracks like FDO. The energy was the same, aggressive, direct, like he never left. But behind the music, things weren't as solid. Shiesty had been one of the biggest artists under 1017, but tensions started to build, especially following the death of Big Scar. After Big Scar passed in 2022, there were public disagreements involving his family and Gucci, mainly about funeral costs and support. This situation created friction within the 1017 circle, and fans began speculating about where Shiesty stood. With his latest arrest, it is widely reported Shiesty, his father, Big 30, and others set up and robbed Gucci Mane in a recording studio. Whatever the case may be, win or lose, you have to pay a price for being real in the music industry.